Hey, what's going on, all my Real Sharks? Welcome to this bonus episode of the Real Sharks Podcast. I am joined by the anime collector, my good friend Brad.
Hey, nice to meet you.
You can find his channel at YouTube/The Anime Collector. And today we're going to be having a discussion about Dragon Ball Z. How do you feel about Dragon Ball Z as a whole? And then how do you feel about Dragon Ball Z Super?
So, growing up, let me put it this way. I loved Dragon Ball Z so much as a kid that
Likewise.
I used to wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning
Likewise.
on Saturdays to see GT in Spanish. You know?
Yeah.
And I had no idea what was happening. Back at like the advent of the internet, I was tying up my parents' phone lines for like a day and a half to download like a 144p, like 10-second clip from one of the movies that hadn't come out in America yet.
Yeah.
And it's like I was spoiling every moment of this show through the internet. And I still enjoyed the hell out of it as it unfolded in front of me. It's like I knew everything that was going to happen. I knew all the characters in the movies, and I knew so much of it, but still getting to sit there and watch it, especially enjoying it like in the masochistic way of enjoying it through Toonami.
Oh, yeah.
Where they would have one frickin' episode would come out like every two and a half months, it felt like, where they would literally every day Dragon Ball Z would come on, and they'd get all the way to like the Namek stuff, and then it would start over back at Raditz, and then it would go all the way back, and if you were lucky, you would get an extra episode, right? And then it would start over again. So but even still, like, that was such a positive part of my childhood for sure, getting to watch it. And as an adult, my opinions on the show, like, there's this saying they say, familiarity breeds fondness, and then there's a flip side of that: familiarity breeds contempt, right? So, like, I've talked about this on my YouTube channel before, this concept of, if you grew up in your household and your parents always used Duracell batteries, once you're out on your own and you have to pick up batteries from the store, you are more likely to pick up Duracell because it's the one that you know, right? But when it comes to, let's say, actors and whatnot, or people, things that are much more complex than a product, the more you know about something and the more you get into its dirty laundry over time, the more you hate it, right?
Yeah.
So as a kid, I really enjoyed Dragon Ball Z. And, Goku was great and everything, but the older I get, the more I kind of hate him because...
I hate him now in Super.
But
we'll get into that.
He has about a single brain cell in Super.
Exactly, yeah, that's why I hated him.
Well, that's another thing that's really irritating about long-running shows, is that the idiot character gets dumber as the show goes on.
Or the smarter character gets dumb.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Take Dexter, for an example.
Oh, yeah, but just watch The Office again, and you'll see, like, I mean, granted, in the first season they're still sort of figuring things out in The Office, so it's like Kevin wasn't quite brain dead, but by the end of it, like, he is functionally retarded. You know what I mean? So, and the same thing with Dragon Ball Super. That's what they did with Goku, which, like, that's probably the least annoying part about it. But the thing about Dragon Ball Z especially is that you really appreciate Vegeta as a character, I think, because I think he's the only character in the whole series that has a character arc in every single saga.
Yes.
And it's kind of one of the things that you might not even realize this happens, but literally every single season of Dragon Ball Z, one of the villains becomes a good guy, right? So the first season...
they did it with the movie, with the new Brawley film, just to make him canon and make him, run around and frolic with the new with the core characters.
Yeah. Well,
it's going to happen.
I'm literally working on editing my first impressions video for that movie.
Oh, it was awful.
Oh, it was
bad.
So terrible. And I complain incessantly in that video about how Dragon Ball Super is an obvious cash grab.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that obviously they brought Broly back to put in their back pocket if the ratings ever start to tank in Dragon Ball Super. Oh, well, now we got to bring Broly back. You know what I mean?
Let me jump in for a second and tell you, like, I love Dragon Ball Z. I will agree 100% with everything you said. When it comes to Super, though, there's aspects I like of it and aspects I don't. So one of the things, like, I tweeted to you was it's probably the beginning first episode when they try to remake the Battle Gods movie. I was like, first of all, why would you do that? Didn't understand why they did that. Why they made the whole, and they did a terrible job at that too, of making the animation bad. Yeah,
because they did it with Battle of Gods and Resurrection.
Yeah, it was awful. That was stupid. But that's one of the things I hated. One of the things I also hated is how small they made the universe. Now I'm going to get to how they expanded it, but made it small again.
Mm-hmm.
So they made it small. They made Goku just absolutely stupid. I mean, brain dead stupid. Before he was at least somewhat respectful. He had honor. You know, he would listen to his masters. And this one, he's just stupid. Literally, he's stupid. He does everything behind.
And extremely selfish.
Extremely selfish. You know, uncharacteristic to his old self. And yeah, Vegeta, of course, is still amazing. But here's another thing too. I can't stand, and you even brought this up in your tweet. I cannot stand how. Why don't they just let Vegeta go 3? Why don't they let Trunks just go 3?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they ever let these characters evolve, you know, in levels that we can see them? It's like they're trying to like hold back on that, you know, so they can sell something else when it does happen.
Yeah, so to get to Dragon Ball Super being a cash grab, they literally have all, like I talked about this, I was looking for some B-roll from the stuff with Android 16. I actually found some better stuff, but for a part in my video where I talk about how they have all this market research of what fans quote unquote want, right? And what that is well, how many toys did we sell, right?
Ouch.
And they go, okay, so the most popular villain that we've sold the most toys of is Final Form Frieza. So let's bring Frieza back and give him a golden form.
Right.
Right? That's literally
Ridiculous.
what they did. You know? Okay, so people like the base and Super Saiyan forms of Goku and Vegeta. Now we can just change the hair color and sell that too. You know? And that's what they're doing. And it's really irritating. But the thing that I think is the worst about it is that, like you were talking about how, first of all, I hate the Super Saiyan God stuff. I detest it.
Yeah, so do
I'm a huge fan of Super Saiyan 4 and GT. Yeah, I think
one of the best things that came out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I think that that GT, for all of its faults, did some really awesome stuff occasionally. Whereas Super, it's like, okay, so now you've taken the problem with power scaling and you've just exploded the chart. It's like,
gone.
It doesn't even matter anymore.
Nope.
You're talking about like, so they need to let Vegeta go Super Saiyan 3 or Trunks go Super Saiyan. So the thing is, they do. And it's so unsatisfying because of how they do it.
Yeah.
They literally, during the Black Goku arc, which is probably the worst arc.
False blue.
Oh, terrible. so they have Trunks defeat Goku Black with a broken sword that I guess the Spirit Bomb ends up going into. He goes into something that they just made up for the moment called Super Saiyan Rage.
Yeah.
Right? Cuts him in half. And then Zeno destroys the entire universe that they just saved.
Yeah.
You know? It's so incredibly stupid and unsatisfying. Then I
will say on the counter, I do think though, and you may disagree with me, but this is one of the moments I did like out of Super. I did like the Black Goku saga. I enjoyed the Android saga a lot to the point of I like how the paralleled in the time. So I loved how they kind of, I guess you can say in essence, answered a lot of fan theories. But I liked the essence of them telling Trunks, you know, Goku was meant to die. This was meant to be predetermined. You're the one that went back and changed everything.
Sure.
And I actually liked that. But I will say that it was one of the only moments I really enjoyed. I did enjoy Super Saiyan Rose, even though it was like, you know, obvious, like, you know, just we just made that out of.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy that. Also, they also did that to make Vegito canon.
Right. So again, oh man, it's so bad. So one of the things that's probably the moment where I just gave up with the series is when they retconned the that the Potara earrings makes the thing in like lifelong.
I didn't mind that.
No, see, this is why I hate that, because the fan theory up to this moment was perfect to explain how they got separated. They go into Boo's. They get absorbed, right? They get separated in that process.
In that process, yeah.
I'm totally fine with that. I can suspend my disbelief for that. I can't have them go. I can't have them decide. You know what? No, it's only an hour long for mortals. That's totally fine. Yeah, it completely invalidates Gogeta.
I won't lie. They do throw the rule books like out the window in Super. But you know, for that moment, but I will say I did enjoy that moment. I did like that whole revelation to Trunks. I do like Zamasu as, you know, being that god. I did enjoy that. I did. I like that. That was one of the aspects I did like about Super. The other one I want to go back and mention was how they expanded the universe so much by bringing in, you know, the whole tournament with all these different universes, all these different characters. But what I couldn't stand was how I was like, so all the greatest fighters are on Earth. Right. I'm like, that makes sense, right? You know, where's PyCon? Where's all these other guys from the other world?
I was going to bring that up actually, because in Dragon Ball Z, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't read the manga of Dragon Ball Z, but I'm pretty sure that entire thing with Pikkon and all that is filler.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that actually really irritates me because it's widely valued and accepted, right, in the fandom. Right? Yeah. So I feel like one of the things that really irritated me about how they expanded beyond, because you got to remember, in Dragon Ball Z, they have King Kai, they have the Supreme Kais, and then they have the Grand Kai or whatever, the guy in the filler with Pikkon and all that. I want to see more of that. Like, that was great. And then they have, okay, well, we've got all these different universes, the Destroyer Gods, all this stuff.
The Super Dragon Balls?
Yeah.
The Galactic Dragon Balls, I think they were called.
The one that, for some reason, after the Universe 6 tournament, they had to be inside of the dragon in order to make the wish, and then at the end of the Tournament of Power, Android 17 just makes the wish from the outside. Come on, guys. Like, if you're gonna mess up like continuity from, like a 20, 30-year-old show, I can understand.
Yeah.
But when in your own show, you can't keep things straight from like 15 episodes or 150 or whatever now. Well, the whole thing's only 131, but you get my point. Anyway, so
I couldn't understand the levels either. Because remember in Z, when you were a power level, like it was like Vegeta, and I think it was Pui Pui. Remember when he fought him in the Buu Saga? He took him out like nothing. He just simply dodged his attacks because he was a lower level.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stand how in the tournament they basically entertained some of these other characters as if they were as strong as these god forms. So it doesn't matter. It didn't matter.
Yeah, no, that's yes. Oh man, I was just cringing the whole time because I watched basically episode 100 to 131 today and yesterday, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, it's great that you're bringing back Android 17. That's one of my all-time favorite bits in GT. Yeah. When he comes back, they
Super 17,
Super Android 17. I fucking love that bit of GT.
That was one of the best moments of GT.
Yeah, but the thing is that when you bring him back, and he's like a protector of animals from poachers, and his personality is completely different from what it was in the Android Saga, which, by the way, is my favorite saga.
Likewise.
The entire thing. I love everything about it because it's so obviously like a Terminator-inspired, thing. I love how they handled it.
Well, Akira Toriyama did a really good job with the story, because like in Future Trunks, which is also the special, which is one of my favorite specials, Gohan loses his arm. He loses his arm in the Cell fight. They were pretty much almost going guaranteed to die at one point because Goku still got sick. I mean, there was a lot of parallels. I was like, that is genius in the Android Saga.
And one of the things about Akira Toriyama is that he is so friggin' lucky with how he makes his story, and then his editor will say, no, that's dumb. And his story, it forces him to evolve. He's like Goku in that way.
Yeah.
Like, his editor will challenge him with something, and he has to power up to make it better. So what happened is, Future Trunks comes, and he tells them about the androids. So when it comes time for the androids, Android 19 and 20, those were the androids. That was it. And then the editor said, no, these look terrible. So he had to come up with something new, right? And that, like, what's his name? Who's the guy who made Lost? What's his name?
I don't remember at this point. So it's all good.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He did the Star Trek reboots. He has this thing he calls the mystery box, right? And he says you just keep taking things and putting them in the mystery box, and it keeps the audience hooked, right? And whether he meant to or not, that's exactly what happens in the androids.
Oh yeah.
Because Trunks comes back and he's like, "What the hell? These aren't the androids I know." And then you're like, "What?
Yeah.
Like, really? Holy crap!" And then it just gets more and more interesting as it keeps unlayering the onions, right? And like time and time again, like Cell shows up, editor says, "Now that's a terrible design." Oh, okay. Well, then he absorbs Android.
That's his first one.
Android 17. Yeah, and then he turns in. He goes in the next level of imperfect Cell. It's like, nah, still not good enough. All right, well, And then he becomes perfect Cell. It's like, okay, I think we're onto something here.
And Cell is an awesome character. I mean, if you really look at the idea of him, at first, I think personally, one would say that's really stupid. But if you get more in depth in that character, I think it's actually pretty genius. And I don't know why. Well, I do know why they never brought him back in Super, because Akira Toriyama said it's hard to animate him. Literally.
Oh, yeah, because he's got all the specs.
All the spots, yes.
Yeah. Also, he sold less toys than Frieza, which is largely why.
Frieza's awesome, but it's like you cannot keep bringing back that villain. I love Frieza if he would have just died on Namek, and that would have been it. I would have been more infatuated with him from there. Because I loved his whole ending, how he's just like, the final blast, and then, you fall, and kills him. That was great. That was perfect. I could have been done with that. Even when he comes back and Trunks chops him up, fine, whatever. I would have been happy with him gone after that. Cooler came back. They made the movie with Cooler. Why do you need to bring Frieza back anymore?
Yeah, well, see, it's funny because one of the big things that Super does that's so irritating is, I forget the actual name of it. They have a term for it, but it's like when you have a character that you've built up as this super badass, strong character, and then you bring in a new character, and in one moment, you have that character defeat the super badass character as a way to show how strong he is, right? And it literally exists purely for the moment of showing that this character is even better than the character that we spent all that time. It's a fast forward through any character development.
Yeah, because that's why Trunks was able to just annihilate Frieza, because you needed to know Trunks was badass.
I think that it actually worked in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
It totally worked in that moment.
Because you were like,
you have no idea who this is. It's another Super Saiyan, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, what the hell? Bulma and Vegeta got together? When did that happen? All that stuff was just amazing when you're watching it unfold. And it just was a perfect way of getting all that story running.
And that was just a soup in Super. I feel like that just was just.
Well, the problem with Super is that they're doing that every other episode in the tournament. It's like literally, it's like, okay, so Goku, quote unquote, dies because of the spirit bomb killed him. Oh, but no, he turned Ultra Instinct, and now he's going toe to toe.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden at the end, he's like, okay, all right,
I've mastered Ultra Instinct.
I get it, Goku. This is his character, her trope. I get it. Why is Android 17 going toe to toe with Jiren at the moment?
That's what I was saying. Levels don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
They didn't matter.
Yeah. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, because one of the things that they didn't push on this hard enough in the Tournament of Power. Well, first of all, the stupid thing is only supposed to be 48 minutes long. But Android 18 and 17, they don't run out of energy. That was the thing that he had going for him, is that technically, if they had shown Jiren getting tired from fighting all these more powerful fighters, and then Android 17 is still good to go like when he walked in the ring, I can understand that, So there, if we're going to give him benefit of the doubt, I will give him that one.
What if I told you I think the Tournament of Power was just to prove that Goku could beat Superman? Because Jiren is exactly Superman in a nutshell. His whole universe is basically Superman.
Yeah.
Jiren, just like Superman, is like Superman in Kingdom Come. He's alone, doesn't have any kinship to anyone on Earth. He's one of a kind. He's the first known alien too, a Gray, which Superman is technically the first known alien that we know too. He's super strong. His whole team is basically the Justice League. You have the the Flash. You have the Cyborg guy. You had you had all the Tabo was meant to be Batman. Screaming justice every second, and then when he does in fact kill or have to kill, he's the god of destruction.
Yeah.
So it's like his whole trope was just basically being Superman.
Well, I would agree with you, except for the fact that they retconned Goku's backstory in Dragon Ball Super Broly and literally gave him Superman's backstory.
Yes, right? I know.
Like I hate that.
I know. We'll get to that in a second, but that's what I really think Tournament of Power was meant to show is that Goku could beat Superman.
Yeah.
Because Jiren didn't even have an aura. He just powered up and he was on fire. And I was like, that is exactly like Superman.
So one thing I'll say is that the Tournament of Power, like I said in my tweet, I was just saying, like, there was a bunch of one-note characters that they kept around for way too long.
Ruzi!
Oh, yeah, Ribrianne, like all the...
Sailor Moon characters.
Yeah, they have a magical girl transformation. Mm-hmm. Off screen, you see a blast come out from Android 17. And
love that part.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the end of the joke. Don't keep them around, you know? But the thing is that if they wanted to pad out the Tournament of Power to be as long as they did, because again, this is supposed to be taking place in 48 minutes. Now, just to address this, I know that the running theory that people use to get through, the 5 minutes till Namek explodes takes like several episodes. I get it. They're fighting at the speed of light. I get that. They're fighting so fast.
I never took it as that.
It's slowed down for the audience watching the show to be able to see what's happening, because in the Satan saga, when Vegeta and Namek are fighting, Gohan as a kid talks about he can't even see them anymore. And Piccolo's like, you got to sense their ki, right? Because they're moving so fast, you literally can't see them. So for the audience, you got to kind of understand the same thing, right? That they're going so fast that the time is going to be longer than they're saying it is.
I got that part. I always took it as these events are happening simultaneously.
Right, that too. But the issue with that is that I refused. I can buy that they're moving at the speed of light. They're moving so fast that things that take 10 minutes to show in the episode are probably happening in like 10 seconds. I can take that. What I can't take is the idea that when they open their mouth and start talking to each other, they're talking like chipmunks. I can't get past that. And if you just take the moments where they're talking, that's got to be at least 48 minutes by now.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to be the person, I guess, on the opposite end. I like the shit talk. I like those episodes where it takes a long time talking up.
I specifically brought that up in my first impressions for
Some
Dragon
people
Ball
hate that.
Broly. No, see, that's the funny thing, is that I hated Dragon Ball Super Broly so much that the thing that I previously hated, I realized how much I loved it. Because as a kid, they have the moments, and it's funny because I saw this with another YouTuber, Duo Review, and we had literally just seen My Hero Academia 2 Heroes, right? And we had shit-talked that up the wazoo about the over-the-top fight scenes with all these weird camera moves to the point where it's just ridiculous. And I specifically bring up the fact that it works in Dragon Ball because you've got the Sakuga scenes, the scenes that are like, even the backgrounds are hand animated because they're rotating the camera, they're doing all this crazy stuff. And then those are sandwiched in between a shot of somebody off camera looking off into the distance with just the mouth flaps moving, and it gives you, like, you gotta give the audience a little and then a lot and then a little again, otherwise it doesn't mean anything, right? And I specifically bring that up, and then I have to say, after we saw Broly, like, I gotta take back everything I said about My Hero Academia because the camera moves were mild in that compared to how they were.
So let's get into Broly. You seem like you really want to talk about
let's talk about it.
So Broly, I'm going to tell you what I liked about Broly, the new movie. But before we do, we're going to take a quick commercial break. All my real sharks.
Hi, my name is George, aka Spike Green. You may remember me for shouting out Real Sharks podcast over at the Film Geek Collective. Basically, anyone who supports us at all gets to be part of the collective. No money required. If you want to learn more about film, if you want to learn just a whole bunch of tricks and tips and stuff, and just various things about film, I am like a go-to guide. I hope to be a go-to guide. Now, if you want to check out the Film Geek Collective, the link is anchor.fm/George-D2. Alright? Well, I guess I'll see you guys there, and thank you, Real Sharks Podcast. Keep listening to them too. Thank you so much. You're always welcome at the Film Geek Collective, and don't you forget it.
It is true. Men possess a side that is barbarous, as you have observed. But it is a double-edged sword. It can be a tool used for winning precious things as well as protecting them.
you or someone you know struggle through life with anxiety-related mental disorders? Ever get that feeling that you are one of the few? I'm here to tell you that you are not alone. Take a journey with me as I talk about key points in my past and how they may have led to me being diagnosed with anxiety and panic disorder. After which, we will talk about different ways to tone down the anxiety and maybe even beat it together on anxiety. The easiest way to remember the name is by thinking about how one searches for a state of zen in the midst of the anxieties of life. My name is Gerald, and I'm the host of Anxiety.
And welcome back on my Real Sharks. I'm sitting here with the anime collector, Brad, discussing the Dragon Ball Z Broly movie. I liked going back to Planet Vegeta. I liked seeing some things on Planet Vegeta, and that was about it. I didn't like what specifically happened, but I liked seeing the things, just the nostalgia of seeing what was going on Planet Vegeta.
Yeah.
But yeah, they basically gave Goku Superman's origin in the worst way. They made it seem like Saiyans care, which that bothered me a lot.
That was the biggest fuck you to the audience I think we could have gotten.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, like...
they made Broly not even a ridiculous, evil character. He's just misunderstood.
Oh, no, it's all his dad's fault.
It's all his dad. He's misunderstood. He got banished to this planet, guys. He had a friend that was a monster. He had to beat the monster every day, and that's how he got stronger.
Oh, so bad. I mean, let's be real. It's better than his original origin story of Goku crying.
I don't know at this point. I mean, they're both pretty bad, but yeah, I'll take that one though over that.
Better,
yeah.
But Goku just having the Superman backstory, having Bardock show up, and it's literally okay. People love Bardock. Yes. They love the Father Goku special. They love
great
that.
special.
So let's bring Bardock back. Oh, and here's Bardock's wife, Gine, right? Goku's mom, who you've not seen on the
anime. Hey, I liked that.
But it's like you said, they made them into like a nuclear family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like the thing that worked in the Bardock special is that they talk about like, didn't you just have a baby? Didn't you have Saiyans? Like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
And that's what works because the Saiyans specifically, they're like, I guess they care about their family, but the thing is that like they're so rough and tough and bred for fighting that you don't even have to watch the baby. The baby is like out fighting.
Turns into the Arazu, man.
Yeah, it's like there's no reason to even worry about them.
Exactly.
And that's part of that rite of passage. And then you see Vegeta and Raditz together in Dragon Ball Super Broly as kids.
Oh, Nappa, you mean?
No, Vegeta and Raditz.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I don't know why. Yeah, Raditz was there. Yeah, Nappa's there too.
Nappa has that, like,
I didn't mind that, but again, it was like, I didn't need that.
So when I saw it, and this is one of the things that I know my audience doesn't think about, but I'm thinking about it constantly and just hoping that they're thinking about, is that when you see the videos that we do, these are literally our first impression. Like, we literally just saw the movie and got back to the car and hooked up the camera and started talking.
Movie's terrible.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. Especially since I saw it in IMAX. It was horrible.
Oh, well, you paid to see it, too.
No.
Wow, okay.
Oh, man. Well, not only that, but, like, everything was so enormous. Like,
did you see it in English?
Yeah.
I actually couldn't wait. I had to watch it in Japanese.
When it came out into theaters in IMAX, it was only for opening day. So I had to go to the screening that was available, and that was the one. So, but the thing is that, like, when we were seeing it, I brought up how it was annoying that Vegeta and Raditz were like pals. But as I'm editing, I'm like, come to think of it, Raditz does specifically talk about the fact that after he gets beaten on planet Earth,
that they'll come avenge him.
The other two are on their way already. So I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but they always make fun of Raditz. Especially, I don't know if you've ever seen Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
I know of it. I haven't really.
Dude, it's great.
I haven't invested a lot of time.
But they always make fun of it, as they always call another character. He's equal to 2 Raditz.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny because like there's so many characters that you just it tickles you that they never thought to bring them back. Like, Goku never brings back his brother. Vegeta never brings back his father. And Vegeta's still Prince Vegeta, right? Even
he's clearly King Vegeta now.
Yeah, well, he should be King Vegeta, but he's also king of literally, like, nothing. Like, literally a handful of Saiyans on Earth.
Are you kidding? He's king of being the most screwed over character in Dragon Ball Z history. They literally made a movie where Goku jumped back in time to take his whole victory lap from him.
In fact, I specifically brought that up. Is like that's the one moment in the thing where Vegeta gets a moment moment to shine, and they pull the rug out from under him.
Yep.
And that's okay, because it's like they can't betray their, like, you know, series of how they do it up to that point, and it at least gave you a taste. But one of the things we talked about is like, I want a movie where some of the other characters get a moment to shine, because if you think about
it's all about
Broly,
the Saiyans.
well, think about Broly in the original Broly, whatever the movie was called, the
Legendary Super Saiyan. Yeah.
In that one, you've got Future Trunks is there for some reason.
He's just
Vegeta, Goku, Piccolo,
enjoying a picnic.
They all fight Broly, right?
Mm.
And then they have Broly the Second Coming, and it's Videl, regular, like, non-Future Trunks, and Goten fight Broly.
And Gohan Semi too.
Yes, yes, actually. And then they have the Bio Broly movie.
Horrible.
Where it's Android 18, Trunks, and Goten again. Like, literally, Trunks is the only one up to that point who had fought him in all three movies. But the thing is, like, that's one of the few moments where you actually get a movie where the characters that are fighting aren't Goku.
Mm.
It's not Goku. You know, it's not Goku or
that.
Vegeta. Yeah, and I think that was. I mean, the only problem with that is that this is supposed to be the follow-up to the legendary Super Saiyan movie where you had them fight. Actually, come to think of it, in the Second Coming of Broly, they have like they reenact basically the Cell, like, one-handed Kamehameha thing where they have Goku and Gohan and Goten,
yeah.
and it's like Spirit Goku is there, like, helping them. So I guess anyway, but yeah, it's like it's great that if you actually go back, I think that this is the number one thing. If you actually go back and rewatch the early movies, you will appreciate, especially right after coming off of Broly, you'll appreciate the original stories so much more, because the animation was way better. Like, you'll see in Tree of Might, for example,
great movie.
Goku fights like
doesn't fit in the timeline, but great movie.
Right, but Goku fights like 8 guys at once.
Yeah.
And like, the animation is spectacular.
They used it for the intro for the Toonami version, remember?
Right, the Rock the Dragon.
Dragon Ball Z!
Yeah. Have you ever heard the Canadian?
No, I have not. Is it great?
It is so awful. It is so... It literally is just over and over again, just Dragon Ball Z. You know, just over and over again. It's so bad. Like, I can't believe there are fans, because I think this is one of the things. In fact, I see you got the orange.
Oh, I got them
sets.
all. Yeah.
Yeah. So people always talk about, like, the Dragon boxes. I never actually picked up the Dragon boxes. Those are the ones that are not cut into widescreen, right? They actually have the original 4:3 aspect ratio. But I love the orange brick sets because they have the Faulkner score. Yeah. Right? Because you can switch.
That's why I love them.
Oh, yeah.
I think one of the aspects that people don't mention about Dragon Ball Z enough is the music.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese music is different.
It's very different.
And, you know, in some movies, too, there is no music during the fights. It's silent. And I love that to some degree. Like during the Trunks, History of Trunks, when he's fighting the androids and you can just hear the rain in their fighting, that is amazing. Well, however, the American music, though, adds so much depth to it. Like Vegeta's theme with the bells, and when they turn Super Saiyan like that. It's just
not
amazing.
Even that. Like, they did this thing where, like, I'm holding on to I need to check. I need to find out definitively whether or not the Blu-rays have them or don't have them, because I'm pretty sure the Blu-rays don't have them, which is why I've held off on getting them and I've just stuck with the old DVDs. But so first of all, the Faulkner score. So it's a common misconception that Bruce Faulkner did all the music. Actually, it's Faulkner's team, right? So it's more than one guy. Believe it or not, Rock the Dragon, that electric guitar opening, that's the same. That was Faulkner's crew, I believe. That's the same people who did the Power Rangers opening.
Oh yeah.
You know, but the thing is that in the movies, like Lord Slug, Revenge of Cooler, all that stuff, they use music from Disturbed. Like all this new metal.
Oh yeah, that is a great point. Yeah, I love that, how they would bring that in. Like,
amazing!
Wally comes out to Pantera. His transformation to Legendary Super Saiyan is from Pantera.
Yes. Oh,
and where was that in the new movie?
Right.
Nowhere.
The thing is that, like, oh god, that's one of my favorite things about growing up and having the experience of watching. I mean, the dub for, let me put it this way, the voice acting is good. The script writing is horrible in the original Orange Brick set.
To some degree, I would agree.
I remember when I was growing up, because I actually collected the VHS tapes back in the day. In fact, I even have the VHS tape where you had to collect all of the Burger King toys and send in the proof that you got them all in order to get them to send you the VHS tape that has the episode where Piccolo and Goku get their driver's license. You know?
I remember.
But back in the day when I was collecting them, they released the VHS tapes as the uncut or the edited versions, and my parents wouldn't let us get the uncut ones, right? And my brother and I are watching the edited version of History of Trunks, and there's a part when he's fighting Android 18, and he says, "You witch." And my brother and I look at each other and kind of snicker, like, "Oh, I bet I know what he says in the uncut one." Then years later, I buy the DVD. He says, "You witch."
No, actually, he does say "you witch."
Yeah, like because when they were recording it, it's like, well, yeah, you know, we could do 2 scripts, but We'll just make the uncut stuff the part where like Krillin gets punched and blood comes out of his mouth, you know.
It is, you know, some of the cuts they do to Dragon Ball Z. I understand, like there's a part where Raccoon flips off Gohan.
Yeah,
clear as day. I mean, they cut that out of the TV version.
Yeah, there's a lot of flipping off, and actually, in I want to say maybe 5 months ago, I don't remember off the top of my head, but we covered on my podcast how in Japan they re-released a bunch of the movies on Blu-ray as like the definitive collection, and they had taken out scenes where, like in Bio Broly, Trunks flips off Broly. Yeah, they censored out his hand and made it like he's making a fist, right? Because Japan. There's a lot of stuff that happens in old anime where Japan has a very unsophisticated understanding, just like America did at one time for other cultures, and we put a lot of stuff that people are claiming as racist nowadays. But Japan had an unsophisticated understanding of a lot of stuff like that. Yeah. So flipping somebody off is like, that's just like sticking your tongue out, you know? Not like
not Ito,
not
you know?
F you, you know what I mean? So that's kind of the thing where I guess their reasoning was that they said these are imitatable behaviors, especially because Trunks and Goten are doing them, and they're little kids, and little kids are watching these movies and stuff. So they censored that stuff, and then they had to like retract their statement about them being like the definitive uncut editions, and they had to like issue an apology and like reissue discs for people who bought them in Japan. But yeah, that stuff actually happens a lot. A lot of the characters flip somebody off at some point.
Yeah.
And to the point I was kind of making earlier about the dub in Dragon Ball Z being kind of bad in terms of the script writing. I'll give them credit in Super that like in the whole Tournament of Power is like Vegeta's calling people bastards, like damn you, and all this stuff is like I've waited my whole life to hear this. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Super was just pretty much just a cash grab in all essence. Yeah. Like I said, there were some moments I enjoyed out of it. I did enjoy I guess you could say I enjoyed the Goku Black Saga as a whole with the Android Saga. Like, I liked how basically they answered a lot of the questions from the past and the time. And Shimazu, I hate to say it, he might be the greatest Dragon Ball Z villain. He's the one guy that lived. I mean, he didn't get defeated. They literally had to destroy that universe in order to stop him.
Yeah, okay, so I wasn't really a fan of Zamasu.
Zamasu, sorry.
Yeah, it's alright. But the thing is that arc, it's just like with the end of the Resurrection F, where Whis turns back time. It's like you have completely invalidated any tension, right? So that arc happens, and literally that arc goes on for so long, and everything that you're fighting for disappears. You know what I mean?
I get what you mean about the ending like that, but to me, I was just like, we talked about how we like to see something different, characters do something different. I thought that was at least different. It was the first time they didn't win. No one won.
They don't win at all. The only time they win is the Tournament of Power, because they lose to Beerus in Battle of Gods. They lose to Frieza, at before they have to do the do-over. They lose to Goku Black and Zamasu in the sense that they lost what they were fighting for. That entire universe disappears. And then Tournament of Power is the only time they actually. I mean, I guess technically they win. They win in the tournament just before. No, he loses to Hit. Goku loses to Hit. I gotta tell you, I think
Hit was cool. I actually did enjoy Hit.
Great. Yeah, I will say this: I would have forgiven every bad choice in Dragon Ball Super if they had done one thing differently. Do you remember Monaka?
Yeah.
The character with the nipples that was actually like a delivery guy, a galactic delivery guy that Beerus told Goku was the strongest being in the universe in order to give him something to aspire to. So in the Universe 6 tournament, when Goku fights Hit, he steps out of the ring after doing the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10 or whatever he does. he steps out of the ring and he points up to Monaka and says, "That guy's even stronger than me," right? And then Monaka comes down, and Monaka is clearly not a fighter,
Yeah.
right? And then Hit realizes that, and then he just like and he like flies backwards and knocks himself out of the ring for like no real reason, you know. But what I wanted to have happen so badly, and I was like on the edge of my seat just waiting for them to do it, is that the audience knows that Monaka is not powerful.
Yeah.
We know that. It's so obvious. I was just waiting for Goku to hype this guy up. And then, like, you know, okay, begin. Hit kills him immediately
Monaka.
because he thinks that he's so powerful. And the rules of the tournament are you can't kill your opponent. Therefore, Hit would have lost, right? And it would have just been so funny for them to actually just obliterate Monaka in one attack, but have Monaka die, therefore defaulting the win back to Universe 7's team.
Yeah.
That would have been the greatest, like, dark humor moment in Dragon Ball Super. There's so much potential for that to happen. And we joke in the first impression video that Broly, like, I mean, you know the fight scene. It's just ridiculous. I just wanted, like, when they summon Shenron and they ask him to save Broly and take him back to his home planet or whatever, I wanted one of the blasts to kill Shenron. You know what I mean? I just wanted something like that because like there's no stakes in that movie. The only person who dies in that movie is Broly's dad, Paragus.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. It's like the movie ends where nothing really happened. I talk about it in the first impression, like literally everything that happens in this movie you already guessed was going to happen based on the trailer.
And it technically erases all the canon that you had in the original Broly movies because some people, it doesn't really fit in unless you say it's when they're waiting to fight Cell in the timeline. So some people consider it canon, some people don't. So now this is official canon. So this is actually the Broly history right here.
Yeah, and that's another thing that was really irritating about it is that I suspect it was because of the partnership with Toonami that it took so long. But literally, Dragon Ball Super finished in Japan while we were still in the Black Goku arc. You know, so then this movie comes out, and it's canon. It's supposed to take place after the Tournament of Power, and for me and my friend who went to see it, like we were watching it dubbed, so we're really behind. You know, by the time the Broly movie comes out, the movie that the last episode to air before the movie came out was episode 93. It's the one where Goku goes to Hell to see Frieza to recruit him for his training. That's as far as it was by the time that movie was in theaters for people in the West to go see it. Now I understand why Funimation did it, because if they hadn't done it, everybody who was going to go see it would have already like downloaded it and seen, the Japanese rip of the Blu-ray or whatever. They would have already seen it, and Funimation would have lost out on a ton of money. But it's so frustrating when the movie comes out and we're like stuck behind, because I hadn't seen Tournament of Power yet. I mean, I knew that Goku was going to go Ultra Instinct because freaking Funimation's Twitter account was spoiling that shit. Like literally, when the did you watch Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Okay, so you remember the episode where Beth dies?
Yes. So
I'm sitting there watching that episode, and the Facebook account and Twitter account for TCM, is that Turner Classic Movies? Is that what it's on?
It's on AMC.
AMC, right? AMC, that's what it was. So AMC tweets out and like puts on Facebook a like remember Beth or R.I.P. Beth, and it's a picture of Daryl holding her dead body, and it's like they put that out after the episode finished airing on the East Coast.
Spoilers.
And it hadn't finished, yeah. So I'm sitting there like, well, that sucks, That's what Funimation was doing, but like months in advance. Because as soon as Goku's fighting Jiren in the Tournament of Power in the Japanese broadcast, they're talking about it on Twitter and like engaging with fans. It's like, hello, you're the company dubbing this. Like, are you serious? Do you not care about your English audience whatsoever? Yeah, so it's like all that shit I knew about. I knew that stuff was going to happen, but it's like I didn't get to experience it yet. And then of course I go to see the Broly movie, and I'll give them credit. They didn't bring Ultra Instinct into it. At least, I mean, you could argue maybe they kind of did in one part, but I don't think it was. I don't think it fits. But
let me ask you something though. Do you have a problem with the female Super Saiyans?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I hated all of the Universe 6 Saiyans.
Okay.
Part of it was because I didn't think they were designed well. They looked.
I mean more in the essence because they were female, not because of their characters in essence.
I don't have a problem with them being female.
See, that's what everyone had. They're like, oh, can you believe they put female Saiyans in? And because it's a different parallel universe, man.
Well, not even that, but Bardock had a female Saiyan on his team in the original thing, and she was great.
But some people had a problem with it.
See, the problem I do have with it.
Well, at least yours is valid.
Well, the Mary Sue aspect of it is that Kale and Caulifla were getting exponentially better without any
just blow past all the training. Let's just get to 3. Might as well just make them blue.
And she's exactly. She's basically a delinquent. You know, when Kappa goes to recruit her, she looks like she's not spent any time training. She's just like, I am based on my race stronger than these other people, so I'm subjugating them. And they're going to go get me snacks and shit is basically what it is. And then it's like the second I'm actually engaged in battle, all of a sudden I'm Super Saiyan 2. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and the tingle, the feeling. Is it that kind of feeling? Oh, just like that?
Yeah. and that's the thing, is that, the way that they've made everybody can just, it's a gift to every Saiyan. It's like, you're a Saiyan, guess what? You're going to go Super Saiyan this season. And it's like, that makes it so hard for me to believe that this is a legendary thing.
From everybody's doing it.
It would actually make more sense to me if the only way you could do it is if you lost your tail.
Well, I've always had this theory, and they never really, kind of talk about it. I always thought they would continue it off. I always said, you never seen them go Super Saiyan with their tail, which is why I thought Super Saiyan 4 ultimately worked. Because even Vegeta explains that's more of the animalistic form, the more natural form, and they had their tails. I was like, it makes sense if that's the way they look with tails. I was like, wouldn't it be interesting if they only look like that Super Saiyan-wise because they don't have tails?
Yeah. I mean, I just, like I said, I had a big problem with them, and then they bring them in with the Potaras, and so it's funny because when I was watching it, my wife was like, "Who are they?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's
they're nobody really."
Kefla and Kale, and I'm like, I thought her name was Caulifla, but it seems like in the dub they're calling her Kefla. Yeah. And then later on, they fused. Yeah. And then they were Kefla, and I'm like, didn't I just hear you call her Kefla? What's going on? So I don't know. I wasn't paying full attention, so it's possible that I misheard that or whatever. But that was really weird. And then of course they throw the stupid fusion in there, and then a lot of it was like with Kale, it was just a reference to the Broly movies. Yeah. Because
she's basically Broly reincarnated, but female.
But actual scenes from the thing were reenacted.
Yeah, why?
Because it's just thrown into the audience, right? Like I said, it's a cash
But to
grab,
fans
fan
like
service.
Me, that to me just makes me cringe and puts me off. You
That's
know
exactly
what I mean?
I said.
I want to see something new. Like I like some of the new computer aspects they have to Dragon Ball Z to a degree, but I cannot stand when they try to make you. It's just like I love The Mandalorian, I hate The Mandalorian. Why do I love The Mandalorian? Because it brings new aspects to Star Wars. Why do I hate The Mandalorian? Because they constantly drop these tropes of, remember the original trilogy? Remember how you loved them? Remember this? Right. We reenacted this? Remember? It's like, I don't need that.
Yeah. No, that's what I said in the First Impressions series. I said, it's at the point where I don't want you to keep giving me what you think I want. Exactly. I want you to make new shit that lets me fantasize about the next thing that I might want. You know? I don't want you to just keep handing me back, because it's so pandering that it just gets annoying.
It used to be we used to want a new Saiyan. Now there's Saiyans all over the place here.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks everybody for enjoying this bonus episode of Real Sharks, and you can find more of our episodes at realsharks.wordpress.com or realsharks.radiopublic.com. And if you find us worthy, please smash that like button and give us a subscribe. Thank you.